What keeps you up at night? What's the thing you're scared the most of right now? I'm not talking about little household thing, cockroaches and spiders, lions and tigers and bears. But what do you think is the most dangerous thing happening on the planet right now? For most people, they believe it's Russia. It's radical Islamic terror. That's all in the news right now. Oh my gosh, I don't want to get blown up by some jihadi. Some people, it's China. Take your pick. People have different fears, but I'm here to tell you if any one of those are your biggest fear right now, you're wrong. Your fear, I'm not going to say it's misplaced. Russia's a concern. China's a concern. Jihadis can blow you up tomorrow, today. I'm not saying don't be afraid. But what I'm saying is those things aren't even close to being the most dangerous thing happening on the planet right now. Let's just do a little analogy. Let's say I'm in a car. I have a driver. I got an Uber driver. And I'm driving down the highway. And the car pulling up behind me on the highway wants to kill me, wants me dead. Is that a dangerous situation for me? Of course, it's very, very dangerous. But there are 1,000,001 ways that can go my way, and I'll be fine. But on the flip side, if my Uber driver, if he wants me dead, well, I'm in quite a pickle now, aren't I? The most dangerous thing happening on the planet, nothing else comes close, nothing else is even a close second, is Western governments turning against their own citizens. This isn't unique to America, as we're going to see here in a few minutes, but it most definitely is happening here in America. It is happening in Canada. It is happening in Ireland, which we'll get to. It's happening all across Europe. The, quote, free countries of the world, the Western democracies, as they like to call them, the more enlightened ones, freedom, this and that. They have decided that there's way too much of this freedom thing, and that so many of their citizens loving this whole freedom thing, that's the real problem. The American government declaring you to be the enemy is the most dangerous thing happening. Nothing else comes close. Nothing at all. And here's just a tiny, tiny example of what you're seeing. Don't worry, we'll get to more extreme ones. We just had Thanksgiving, right? And everybody, everyone on earth, well, everyone in America anyway, they understand costs are staggering right now. They're staggering. It's unbelievable. I just flew to Montana. Bought 4 tickets, plane tickets to Montana to go up and see my family and have Thanksgiving up there. The plane tickets alone were, it was like taking a vacation to Hawaii. That's what the plane tickets alone were like. And then we got up there for Thanksgiving. And the food costs, we're not even talking a big party, 20, 30 of us. There were 10 of us in the room. The food costs were eye-popping. We're walking through the grocery store looking. The cost of Thanksgiving dinner is up 25%. 25% compared to what? Compared to before the lockdowns. And let's just pause on this real quick. I'm not going to get off on a sidetrack. Remember, the pandemic didn't raise any costs. None. Zero. None. The government response to the pandemic raised costs. Shut down the economy, 15 days to slow the spread, $1 trillion here, $1 trillion there, and now we can't afford Thanksgiving anymore. Okay, so the government screwed up. The government screwed up. You didn't screw up. Let's be clear. You didn't raise the cost of Thanksgiving food. You didn't do it. You're not responsible for this. The government is 100% responsible for the inflation in our lives, for the state of our economy, for everything going on. By any measure, it is the government's fault. So what is the government's response to you being upset with all these costs? Well, the government's response, first of all, is they're lying.
So let me hit you with a few numbers. So airline tickets down 13% over the past year. Car rentals 10%. Eggs 22%. Thanksgiving dinner, to be a bit topical, down 4.5%, with turkey down about 6%. That's deflation. That is lower prices in those areas.
This holiday season, families are seeing lower prices on everyday items from gas to groceries. As holiday shopping starts, shelves are stocked and prices for toys, TVs, and used vehicles are all down from last year. And we just saw record Black Friday sales.
Down from last year. Last year when everything was up 30%. So their first response is to lie, but that at least could be understandable. Their next response, though, did you see the latest and greatest? The White House, they're working with social media companies to counter misinformation about prices. So let's just wade through all the noise and get right to the nitty-gritty of it. The government has decided, since they raised the prices on everything, the real problem, it's not the prices. It's not what they did. The real problem is you. You complaining about it. You talking about it. You can't talk about their screw-ups. So instead of fixing their screw-ups, the government declared you to be the enemy, and now they're going to censor your free speech online to make sure you can't talk about it. The government decided you were the enemy. Don't think this is just America. Did you see what happened in Ireland? The latest and greatest, or worst, some Algerian immigrant nut job pulls out a knife, starts knifing a bunch of schoolgirls and teachers. It's absolutely beyond despicable. And the government there felt the outrage. Immediately, buses were burning, people were kicking in doors. There was immediate outrage by the Irish citizens, outrage at their government. Why? Well, along the same lines, European governments and the American government importing mass amounts of third world hordes to rape, murder, and abuse their own citizens goes along the same lines as declaring your people to be the enemy. And so the Irish people had enough of it. In fact, UFC champion Conor McGregor came out and said, no more. We are at war, is what he said. This must stop. Get these people out of our country. What was the Irish government's response to that? Remember, the Irish government imported third world hordes to abuse, rape, and murder their own citizens. Some nutball who should have been deported years ago, but they blocked his deportation. Some nutball goes on and knifes a bunch of schoolgirls, and the Irish government has decided that the enemy, it's the people who are upset about it. Listen to this police chief.
Well, I think there's disgraceful scenes in terms of a major investigation, the maintenance of a scene, the gathering of evidence, and we have a complete lunatic hooligan faction driven by far-right ideology, and also then this disruptive tendency here and engaged then in serious violence. Now, we are drafting in resources to deal with that, and that will be dealt with properly.
The police chief, he found the bad guy in this whole thing, and it was his own people.